Hello, fellow Haskellers! Welcome to Giggles is You! This time, we will just continue what we did last time, because I stopped quite in the middle of my implementation. We did quite a few changes, but we did not test them. So here are the changes we made. We made some changes to the /// function, which used to be and is still a function which receives a list of changes we want to apply to an array as a list of pairs of the index of the array that we want to change and a function indicating what is the change we want to perform in this particular cell. And the difference, what we changed, is that it used to be that we assumed that there was at most one change per cell, and now we accept that there can be several, in which case we want all of the changes to be applied in the order in which they appear in the array. So that was one thing that we implemented and did not test. And the other one is this move sprite to function. It is now move sprites to, so that we can now attempt to move more than one element at a time, more than one sprite. We have an array with which represents the level. It's like a square grid where there's a bunch of sprites in it that can be in multiple positions. And we used to update this array in what felt to me, at least, like a very imperative API where I was doing it one element at a time. I was saying, okay, start with this array and then move this entity from here to there, and that felt like an imperative update, like assign this value to this array, to this entry of the array. Whereas now, instead, I am describing a list of entities that I want to move, like all in one shot, and I am computing purely functionally the new array that I want from the old array. I was doing that before as well. It's just that the new array was computed from the old array by saying everything is the same except for the one cell that I want to change, right? Well, now it's a bit of a more involved computation, but I'm hoping that this will help at the call site instead of having to constantly worry about like the order in which I apply those changes. Well, one bug that I kept encountering was that if I have three elements next to each other and I want them to move all one cell to the right, then if I do it in this order, this one to the right, and then this one to the right, and then this one to the right, it works fine. But if I do it in a different order, this one to the right, and then this one to the right, and then all of them to the right, then I end up with a stack of elements instead of all three elements moved to the right. And that was due to the imperative nature. I had to worry about the order in which I was performing those changes. And now I'm hoping that it was this new API where I am saying I want to move all three of them to the right, and it doesn't matter like in which order I specify those three cells in the list. I want all of them to move towards the right. And so that means it's the job of the move sprites function to figure out whether it means that they move all to the right or if they move all in the column. And what I want, of course, is not for them to be stacked. Okay, so well, I did implement it on stream last time, and it was quite some changes. I was first figuring out all of the elements that are being removed, and then all of the elements that are being added, like in the new position. And I was not able to test it. Oh, there's a trailing white space here that I want to get rid of. And that's it. The only other change is the call site. So in this function, I mean in this module, if I look for trailing white space, there you go, that was the only one. And yeah, I did not have the time to test it because I'm trying to stick to 1 hour for each stream, and I saw that I still had some type errors above, and I did not know how long it would take to fix them. And so, well, now we have 1 hour ahead of us, so let's see how long it takes to fix those type errors, so that we can finally test to see if what I've implemented made things better and fixed all of the bugs, as I'm really hoping, or if, on the contrary, I've broken everything that I've implemented so far. So let's go to the file which has this problem, and it's exactly at the call site, which makes a lot of sense. It's the I only changed two functions, //, which is only called in move sprites to, and I changed move sprites to. So what does it need? Well, of course, we just changed it. Update the tags. We just changed it so that instead of taking what we're taking before, this is a predicate indicating which cells we want to, which sprites within a cell we want to move, because I'm not like pointing to a particular sprite, I'm moving like all of the sprites which are you or something like that. And the cell from which we are moving and the cell to which we are moving, now we are taking a list of those things. So let's see. Well, if there's only one active cell, then that's it. It's the previous position, and then the predicate, and then the new position. In a tuple, not a list. Like this. And this is a function from level to level. I'm a bit suspicious of the fact that it's only moving a single one, because the whole point was that I wanted to move several. But at least this function should now type check, and now, well, the caller of that function is no longer type checking. Well, it's because I just changed the type so that it returns a level instead of a maybe level, and I briefly described why last time I moved sprites to use to return a maybe level, and I no longer want to deal with failures after the call. I now want to deal with the possible failure cases before the call. So I'm guaranteeing, it's a responsibility of the caller to guarantee that I am not accessing entries outside of the array, basically. Yes, so, yeah, move active cell. Well, this is the part where we have a whole list. So instead of using compose, which, if you remember, is this function that just takes a bunch of functions from A to A and just runs them, composes them all into one big function. I don't think I need that anywhere else. I can just delete it. And instead, I will make a single call to move. I have to put my equal next line. Move sprites to, and it takes a list of something and the level, and produces the level. Do I need the level anywhere else? Yes, I need it elsewhere in the where clause, so I can't make this point free. Okay, so but this list is now different. So it used to be, well, I used to call move active cell like several times, but I'm doing that from a level active cells, which lists all of the cells. Okay, that's fine. And each of them, what's an active cell again? Oh, it's that thing here. It's a position and a predicate. And what I need to produce is a position, a predicate, and another position. So I guess I can. So I can use the record wildcard notation to bring into scope the two fields, the active cell position, and there is active predicate, and now I just need another cell, another position here, which I guess is the same thing I've computed there in move active cell, which I no longer need. Move active cell, and I guess just like that. It's a bit long. You know how I don't like long lines. There you go. That's neat. And there still are some warnings in the level module. Control.add is redundant. And defined but not used. Sure, I don't need to bind it if I'm not using it. Still another problem. 2, 4, 5. The binding for ASOX shadows the existing binding. Sure, I can give it a different name. Or I can just hide, because I'm not using the other one, right? Hiding ASOX. There you go. No, I am using it. Yes, I am using it. Okay, so I definitely need a different name then. So one, no, yeah, here, this one. So what is this? It's yeah, it is a list of association. Okay, when I don't have a good name, when it clashes, I like to just add an underscore afterwards. It's just my naming convention. Like if, for example, I wanted to name a variable where is a keyword, I use where underscore. Like often in object-oriented languages, you want to talk about a class of something and you can't use class because it's a keyword. People use like a intentional misspelling, like class with a K, and I think that this generalizes poorly. It's hard to find a misspelling in all words. Like if you had if, like how would you misspell it? Like this? It becomes pretty hard to figure out what you're referring to. Whereas adding an underscore, I think, is uniform at least. I don't want to add a quote because I use that for a different convention. It's when there is a value that like changes over time. I have like the first version, the second version, third version. But when it's a keyword, or in this case, a clash between something that is already in scope, I just use an underscore. Okay, so I can still move the characters up and down. Excellent. And I did all that so that I could implement push. I did most of the logic for push in the last stream. So if I want the text to be pushable, yeah, the text is still not pushable. And last time I had written some tests that I don't see because I stashed them. Right, I wanted to first re-implement move sprites just to make sure that all of the existing stuff was working. This rudimentary test moving around in the level looked fine, but I wrote a bunch of tests, so I might as well run them. Like it looks like it's hanging, but I've made the mistake enough times by now to know that it is finishing. See, it even finished very, very quickly. It's just that I don't print any feedback after, and that's one of the things that I fixed, but then I stashed. So that's why we don't see that improvement yet. Okay, so let me commit those changes that I'm move all sprites at once. That's the change I'm making. And now I can unstash the changes I did about push. I'm not too surprised to see a conflict. I will drop it because I've already applied as much as I could except at the conflicts, so I don't want to accidentally try to apply that again next time I have to get stash pop. Now I just want to resolve the conflicts myself, and those are rules, and they are presumably around the places I just changed. So there used to be move active cell here. We no longer have move active cell. And what's the other change? This used to be just go has stops, and now it is this more complicated logic. And move active cell has been renamed to move chunks, so I don't need that anymore. whether it's called move chunks or move active cells, I don't want it. And yeah, I expected some problems here as well. So yeah, I now want to call move sprites too. Let's see. Let's see what has changed between this version and that version. First, is it only that move active cell was renamed to move chunk? Yes, and just a variable name, chunk, was renamed to active cell. So I can delete all that. And I don't think there's any reason to reverse the list of active cells, because now, thanks to my move sprites plural to function that I implemented last time, it's now possible to move all of them at the same time, and not to have to worry about the order, in that order or that order. Alright, level active cells, that's no longer how it's called level chunks. But does it still, what does it return now? It returns a chunk, and the chunk is a list of active cells. So, okay, no problem. So each of those is a chunk, and each chunk has an active cell. Done, easy. It needs to be a comma here. And the tests are failing. Okay, why are they failing? Well, actually, they seem pretty good. This part matches, this part does not. This part matches, this part matches, this part does not. Okay, so what are the parts which do not match? Let's look at them in greater details. Okay, so if we have Giggles, object that is U, that is pushing an A that is push towards the right, it does successfully move towards the right. That's good. If we have Giggles pushing an A onto something that is stop, then we should not be able to push the A, but as I've explained several times already, I do want my Giggles to move on top of the A, even though that's not the behavior in Baba is U. So that's why I want the G here to be on top of the A, and that's what I get. Okay, great, so that's not the problem. Next, G, B. If B is both push and stop, I want push to win, but clearly it is not what happened, because the GB stayed there instead of moving one position to the right. It says that this is what was expected. Okay, so I know what's the problem. It's that stop is winning. So let's go back to the rules. And let's see. So the rules are, okay, so we are computing the chunks of things that are moving towards the right. And we're, because, well, it works for all of the directions, but I like to think of the current direction as being towards the right. And I am traversing from right to left, and I am going to be pushing in that direction, and so it's only if there is something that is U that is pushing that the entire chunk is going to move, the chunk of things that are push. Oh, so that means that all of the things that are in the chunk are things that are push. That's interesting. But before, I was thinking it's just a whole bunch of random things. I don't immediately see if any way I can simplify my code now that I have that knowledge that the chunk only contains things that are push, but still. Let's see. So yeah, I'm building a bigger and a bigger chunk consisting of more and more things that are push until I either encounter a cell that has something that is U, which successfully pushes everything towards the right, or something that is stop, in which case nothing moves. But now the problem is that if there is a cell in which there is something that is both push and stop. When I then look at the cell next to it, even if there is something that is U, I tell it that it cannot move towards the right. Wait, I don't want it to move towards the right in that case. Let's go back. Wait. Okay, do I or do I not? Okay, if there is something that is stop here, and then there is something that is push and stop here, and then there's something that is U that is trying to push on the thing that is both push and stop, then none of them should move. So in that case, I confirm that I do not want it to move. But in the case in which there is not a thing here that is only stop and not push, like if it is also push, for example, then they would all move towards the right, or if there's nothing here, those two would move towards the right. So that means that I'm kind of missing a piece of information here. Am I? Because as I am moving towards the right, I am remembering whether I have seen a thing that was definitely stop. And I'm now realizing that what I should be remembering is not whether there is something that is stop, but something that is stop but not push. Ah, that is the problem. Okay, so where is it? Well, there's a number of cases in which I check here if the cell has any stops. And I think I do the same thing here. Well, it's the same question, has stops, but it's a different thing that I do if there aren't any. So I guess I'll still have to think about those two cases separately. Okay, so if there is a nothing here, it means that on the right of the current cell, there is something that is definitely preventing movement. It's not something that is both push and stop and could possibly move. It is definitely stop. And so, if there's anything that has stop in there, whether it is push or stop, or just stop, it will definitely be blocking further things from moving in the next set. So I think this is fine. I'm just checking if things are stop. Whereas, in this case, if I have a chunk, that means that I have a bunch of cells that I'm not yet sure if they're going to be moving out of the way or not. And it's only if they are moving that I do want to, well, not just move the chunk, but also allow the thing on the current cell to move along with them. So if there's a U, sure, that's a case in which everything moves towards the right. But what about the case in which there is something that is push and stop? All right, because here I'm only checking about stop. So that would include the case in which there's something that is push and stop. And then we would return the thing, we would consider that everything is blocked, and that's the bug. So it has non-stop, non-push stops. Okay. Oh, actually, that's very symmetric with the has non-U stops. Wonder if there's something I can refactor here. I don't immediately see it. I will just duplicate the code until I see the similarity. So it has non-push stops, asks if there's any sprite at the current location that is a non-push stop, and so I also need to ask what does it, to define what does it mean to be a non-push stop. It's something that is stop and not push. All right, immediate feedback, as you can see. Above, the tests ran already and they failed already, but we can see that the GB has moved towards the right. So we fixed that bug. It's just that there's more bugs that are left. Okay. So next, that GBS seems to be fine. I don't remember what that was testing. Let's go back to the test itself. That makes no sense. Okay, I was thinking that it was further to the right in the input than in the output, which makes no sense because things can only move towards the right in that example because I'm moving towards the east, towards the right. Okay, but it's not the case. They are well aligned. And that's the case in which you should not move, and indeed they are not moving because the S is stop, and so the thing that is push and stop is considered stop as well. Okay, and then if there's something that is push and another thing that is push, then Giggles should be able to push both of them, and it successfully does so. And then if I have Giggles on top of something that is both push and stop, it should be able to move out of it. And it does move out of it, but it also moves the B, even though there is nothing on the left of the B to move it. Okay, so that's the bug. I don't know exactly what is causing the bug, but I understand it better now. So that's the case in which, there's nothing to the right, so there is probably like a just empty list as the chunk. The important thing is we are not blocked to the right of the current cell, and there is a U on the current cell. And what do we do then? I am moving. Yeah, the U is definitely moving. That's good. And then I am not certain if the thing that is push should move or not, because after all, maybe this is another U, even though there's another U here that has moved out. There could be another U here that is pushing the thing that is push. So that's why I am adding it to the queue. That makes a lot of sense. Current active cell is adding the things that are push to the chunk. But then why is that chunk moving towards the right? That doesn't make much sense. So I guess that's what happens like one iteration later. So this thing, okay, so there was a Giggles here, it moved out. Now you have this thing that is push, and we have nothing in this cell, it's just empty. So we arrive here, because we have a just of a chunk containing the thing that is push, and there is nothing that is U to push it. So I go to the otherwise case. Oh, and since it's empty, there are no things that are non-push stops. So we end up in this just case. We are enqueuing, we are adding to the chunk an empty cell. So what's actually happening is that this B is being pushed by this Giggles because this Giggles is not just pushing the A that is pushed and the A that is pushed, it's also carrying through the air and pushing B. That's funny because in Baba is You, the original, there is a feature like you can say empty is push, and that means that like all of the cells that are empty will participate in such sequence of pushes, and I guess I accidentally did that. Weird, okay. Maybe the author of Baba is You had a similar bug, and that's how he got the inspiration of adding this rule, I don't know. But now I need to fix it, right? I should split chunks when I am trying to enqueue nothing onto it. So where am I enqueuing things onto things? There's here I am adding an empty, like if indeed there's nothing there, in the current cell, then I'd be creating a chunk of length 1 that is empty. I think that's fine. If there's some trailing white space at the end of the chunk, if I move all of the contents of the chunk towards the right, like for each element of the chunk, we are filtering what are the things that are actually moving. So if I'm moving nothing here towards the right and nothing there towards the right, that's fine, as long as I move those two towards the right. But if the contrary, it's those two in the middle that are empty, and I'm moving those two towards the right, then, well, it does make a difference because this one is not moving, because this one, it's hard not to move more than one thing at a time. This one is not empty, and this one is not empty. And so even though moving those two in the middle that are empty towards the right does nothing, it does have an impact because both of them do move towards the right, whereas I would prefer to have only one of them move towards the right. Okay, so yeah, trailing and trees in the chunk are fine. So the only place where we are adding an entry is here. And so that means that in this case, we know that there are no things that are U, but I guess we are interested to know if there are things that are as pushes. And now we still need the otherwise case. And in this case, I guess we call go with, we still ask, so we know that there's nothing that is U, there's nothing that is push, so we're only interested to know if there's something that is stop, and if so, then we won't be able to push further, and otherwise just an empty chunk, just so that the next thing on the next cell can move on top of it. There's a lot more cases that I would like in this code. Anyway, so now that I've added this new guard, I know that I'm only going to push a non-empty cell into the current chunk, and otherwise, if this is just a blank cell, then I'm going to go in the follow through here, and I'm going to cut the chunk, right? This chunk is no longer going to be moving because I'm including the empty cells instead. So I think that should be better, except has pushes is not in the scope. Same thing as stops, except we're asking for the push rule. 118, what are they unhappy with? I don't know. Couldn't match expected type chunk with actual. Oh, I'm just missing the second argument to go. All right. I think we made progress. Maybe. Let's go take a look at the test again. So, all that is as expected. And here when we have the, we used to have the G on top of the B. Now what do we have? Well, we have the G in a new column, but it's floating in midair for some reason. What? So the contents are right. If I play the game, it should look fine. It's just that there's some inconsistency in my data model somehow that makes it possible to have something that floats on top of something else. I would not have thought this was possible. Weird. And what's this other G here? Like, it's not this G, is it? This is way too strange. Let me run the REPL in the other tab so that I can see the same output without it wrapping around. Okay, so test all fails in the same way. It's in particular the push test, which fails in that way. And what? This is very strange. Oh, I know what is the problem. It is my mistake. So a few episodes back, I implemented this dot syntax in order to distinguish between I have 2 rows in my level. It's a 2 by like 13 level, 13 by 2. Versus if I don't put the dot, now the G is on top of the A. So I was testing the wrong thing all along. Let's just double check that I haven't made this mistake elsewhere. I have made this mistake here. Why is this passing? What? Okay. Okay, I don't know why the test was passing before. Is it just never called? Like, well, walk on 2 obstacles while some are stuck. Oh, apparently I'm never calling this test. So let me just double check that I am calling all of the tests by copying all of their names here and filtering by, I guess, those that have colon, and then getting rid of those. Alright, so that should be all of the tests, and they're all passing. So everything is fine. Oof! That means I have finally implemented push. Oh, it has taken me so many episodes to get here. So I'm now very excited to run. So excited that I cannot type to run quick run, to run the game, and then to finally start pushing things. All right, so I can move around, and if I say name is push text, then I can push the text. I can push the text around. Amazing. Did I expect that? So here there was a thing that is you, and then a piece of text, and then a thing that is you, and I have pushed a thing that is push onto a thing that is yeah, that's allowed. It's because the thing that is you is not stop. If I had this same, I guess I have to restart it. Okay, so let me try to recreate it. So if I think I just need to move. Well, I need to set the rule first. Name is push text. So okay, so now I am in a similar situation. I have a thing that is you, a thing that is push, a thing that is you. If I go to the right, if I go to the left, that's what I expect. It's only when I'm flush against the wall, if I push again to the right, I will see the same behavior as before, that the B successfully pushes the text, but the text is on top of the other B. But if I say that name is stop, char name B, then I still am able to move to the right, but if I push against the wall, excellent, then I'm not pushing the text on top of the B. That's a good behavior, I like it, excellent. So push is working, super excited about finally moving on to a different feature. And so I think that next time I will try to implement a parser so that now that I can move the pieces of text around, I can try to form sentences and parse them into rules. And that will finally start to feel like a Bye Bye Is You game. See you there! A little bit. Click. Okay, outro. See you there!